we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
We get a huge kick out of reading all of your success stories. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss and shout us a cuppa.
If you keep us caffeinated, we can keep the content coming.
Like you normally use a computer, but again, a computer in an interview, it just feels a little bit strange. It's like, what are you really doing on there? Are you Googling the answers or something?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks and behind the scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey Em, and welcome back our wonderful listeners. It's time for our favourite part of the podcast, our Shoot Your Shot shout out. This is where we celebrate you guys, our wonderful listeners who've gone out there, you've shot your shot and you've got something to say about what happened. This week, we're shouting out Pat, who bought us 5 coffees. How incredibly generous.
And this is actually a trip down memory lane. See if you remember, because as I started reading this, I immediately knew who it was. So Pat said, Emma and Sarah, almost a year ago, my wife and I decided to make a big move to a new city with our boys. You may remember me as the jack of all trades: music, building, environmental work, too many disparate elements for a digestible resume. Like many others, I tried everything, and my wife started referring to me as the invisible man. I was working so hard, making an impact that I was proud of, yet everything seemed to go unnoticed. I started with your podcast, listening while remodeling friends' homes. Then I moved on to the Interview Academy and worked through developing my best stories and responses. Within a few months, I was getting noticed and landed an incredible interview for a role leading an environmental non-profit in the city we hoped to move to. It felt like I had a great authentic story for every question, and within a few weeks, I got the offer. I've been in the job for 7 months now, and while every position comes with its challenges, it's been incredible. I've developed a whole new set of best bits to live alongside the old ones. Listening to the podcast, I kept having the feeling that you two had some magical power that seeped through listeners' earbuds. All these months later, I'm certain of it. But really, you're providing us all with confidence, kindness, laughter, and actionable steps to improve our career transitions. Thanks and cheers, Pat. Pat!
I loved this one. Like, magical powers. That's so cute.
We did an episode about like addressing the elephant in the room and just owning whatever the situation is. And he was one of the examples, because he reached out and was like, I've done building work, I've been in a band, I've been whatever, but really my passion is environmental work and I feel like I'm too all over the place. And we were like, nail it. You be like, I started off here, didn't love that, pivoted to music, loved that, finished living the dream. Now I'm really ready to get into impact. Like, we just hyped him up to own his clusterfuck of a career history in the nicest way possible. Like, own it. What amazing life experience you've had.
And also, I love hearing that it's been 7 months. Like, it's not like he's just landed the role. It's like it's actually going really well in the actual job, which is so awesome, because you were right for the role. You were super qualified. All of that experience all over the place, I bet, has led to you being so good in your job. And the second thing I really love about this is,
he said all jobs have their down bits.
No. No.
I liked that. He's taken it off the pedestal. He's like, every job has its challenges, but it's really good.
He's not glossing over it. But it's the part where did the Interview Academy and then got an interview. How cool is that? You're prepping for the interview, even though you don't have an interview yet. But I'm not actually that surprised by that, because all of the work that you do, coming up with your story, coming up with your intro, putting all your experience kind of together, I think would be such a great foundation before you went to then tweak your resume or send in a cover letter or something, because you've done all that foundational work so that you can communicate yourself much better and put that all into a document or an application or something like that. So I think that is really awesome.
And I love that it's been 7 months and you've thought of us and thought to reach out and send us this message. Pat, you are a star student, and I think you're Aussie because you said cheers. Are we getting Aussie vibes?
Potentially.
I think he's a knockabout Aussie bloke. I'm getting those vibes.
I don't know.
Let us know, Pat.
Now, if you want results like Pat, maybe you should check out the Interview Academy just like Pat did, or you can do a one-on-one coaching session with me personally. You can check out all about both of those different options at interviewboss.com.au/coaching.
And if you would like some help on your conundrum or want to suggest an episode that we could do, kindly follow us on Instagram, slide into our DMs, and we will use our DMs to get inspired for future topics.
We do that all the time. We're constantly going through and looking at what are people asking, what are the themes, what are the questions, and there's been a few of them that have kind of led us to this episode. Em, what are we talking about today?
Yes, we are talking about our magic interview notebook. This is our hack for interviews. It's a practical hack in the sense that you're taking a physical notebook into your interview for physical help of looking down at dot points you've written in there, but it's also a mental hack knowing that you have the safety net. So it's just my favorite thing ever, but it absolutely feels illegal. And I don't know why. It feels like a crime to take a notebook into an interview.
And people have got questions about it. We've received a couple of questions where they're like, well, what do I do with it? Do I read? Am I allowed to reference it in the thing? Do I open it up? Do I tell them that I'm looking at it? Do I have to do it sneakily? I don't know. There's questions on all of those things, but there's questions on a few of them. So we thought we'd do a whole episode dedicated to the notebook.
So like I said, it's a safety net. Half of the nerves from going into an interview is the panic of what if I go blank? You freak out, you start panicking, you then start blabbering, you go really off track. That is such a fear of so many people. So having this here is just a safety net to know that if that happens, you can glance down, jog your memory, say something like, oh, sorry, one sec, I had something really perfect for what I wanted to say about this. It's a glance down, gives you a second to recollect yourself.
And also, you know that you've got a plan B, because have you ever had that moment where, oh, I can't think of anything? And then you know that if you were calm, you could think of something in 2 more minutes. But because you're now panicking, your frontal lobe has basically gone offline. You're just in panic mode. There's no way you're going to think of anything.
A great example of this, a little while ago, I had to call 000 for the first time, which is Australia's version of 911. I had to call emergency services. And it was a very high-stress situation. And they asked me, yep, I've got your address. Can you please tell me the nearest cross street, the nearest intersection?
Which is literally across the road from your driveway. If you drive out your driveway, you go up a cross street.
There's a million different cross streets, but I've lived there for 3 years. I just went smooth brain, no thoughts. And then I'm panicking because I'm like, I want to hurry up and get on the phone to the operator so someone can come here. But I was like, and that gave me insight into how people react in sometimes seemingly dumb ways in emergencies. And you think, oh my God, why would they react? I get it now, because in that moment, brain shuts off. And it's the exact same as in an interview. If you go blank, you're in fight or flight, you're panicking.
I think, honestly, side note, you're normally the ones for the little side notes. I think you should keep that in mind. All of us should keep that in mind when we are judging people by how they're reacting to an emergency or to some kind of news scenario that they are involved in somehow. And you're saying they don't look like XYZ or they look like XYZ. You have no idea what you would do in those circumstances. You have no idea.
This really gave me an insight, because it is huge, the amount of the media crusade of people when their kids have gone missing and they interview the parents. Oh, I reckon the dad did it. He didn't even shed a tear. I would be inconsolable. You don't know that because you're in a trauma response.
And also, he might be inconsolable on a different day, in a different hour, in a different, is he inconsolable 7 days a week, even when the police have come and been like, right, we need you to go on the media because blah, blah, blah. We need you to appeal for something. Yeah. That's a little side note. I think if you get nervous in interviews, you need to have empathy for other people in stressful situations.
Yes.
What's our second benefit of bringing in our magic notebook?
Now, the reason we almost came up with this in the first place. The main reason is to write down the questions that you're going to ask at the end of the interview. If that's all you write in there, perfect. But this shows that you're so organised. Sarah always gives a great analogy about how it feels illegal, that if you rock up to a meeting at work with a notebook or your laptop, you look organised and prepared. So it should be the same for an interview. When it gets to that question, which you know they'll ask, do you have anything you want to ask us? Yes. And you flick to the page, you're like, I actually prepared these earlier.
And also, it's one of those things, I don't tend to, obviously because I do this stuff all the time, I don't tend to panic in interviews and go completely blank that much these days. But I will have thought of things that I wanted to know about the job in my preparation. And then by the time you've had like an hour-long conversation, potentially even longer if you've run over with the interview, I've forgotten what questions I wanted to ask. And I might remember one of them, but there might be something that I actually really wanted to know and it's just kind of left my brain because it's just been a while since I've thought about what do I want to know. And I also probably wrote it in a way that it's phrased really well as opposed to however it happens to come out of my mouth when I remember it. So this one I would use even if you're not as nervous and panicky with job interviews, write down the questions that you want to ask at the end because it allows you to flip to that page and go, yeah, I did actually have some questions. And if you haven't already got your notebook out, that's when you pull it out, open it up to the page and say, I had a couple of questions here. Oh, it looks like we've answered that one. Okay, yeah, so question here. I wanted to know about blah, blah, blah. And how prepared and on it do you look? Just so good. I strongly recommend.
Write down about 4 and put them in the order of your priority as well, the one that you really want to know first.
Yeah, we kind of recommend, there's no hard and fast rules to this stuff, but I think you can get away with asking 3 questions at the end. I think more than that is a bit much, so I would kind of stick to 3, but you can write down 4 or 5 in your notebook because what often happens throughout the course of the interview,
they will answer the questions you already had.
Yes. So you might have asked about their leadership style or the culture, and they've actually already talked to you a lot about those 2 things. And so then if you've only prepped 3, 2 of them have already been covered, you've only got 1 left and it looks like you only came with 1 question. So I think write down a couple more than what you need and do them in order of priority so that if they haven't answered any of them, then you're just going to ask your top 3.
Now, we're also going to write down some best bit prompts. So these are the things that can remind you, jog your memory of all of the different story options that you have so that if you go blank, you can pull it out. Now, in terms of prompts, like a few words, is that what we're getting at? So say if my story was about the project I worked on where there was the big problem and I overcame it, marketing project, something like 4 keywords.
Yeah, totally. It's just, it only needs to jog your memory because you know the whole story. And often all you need is a little tiny bit of a refresher. And if you read that and you read those 4 words, oh yeah, that's right. I've prepped this story. I know the story and it happened to me. So it's in my memory, but you just need to pick the story almost. Like that's what we're kind of using that for, is a bit of recognition to bring back the story you want. Hey, Interview Boss listeners, if the podcast just isn't doing it for you and you need way more help to prep for your next interview, we have the perfect thing for you. Interview Academy. Tell us all about it.
This is huge. This is the love child of Sarah after doing hundreds of one-on-one coaching sessions, finding out what people struggle with the most, common mistakes. Sarah has created the ultimate course that you can do in your own time, self-paced, heaps of modules, videos, interactive quizzes, a workbook that will become your Bible by the end that you can take with you into your interview, because if you're a long-time listener, you know that we endorse taking notes into your interview. It's a game changer.
Check out more about it at interviewboss.com.au/interview academy. The other way that this can be really helpful is if you get a bit of a question that catches you off guard a little bit. You might initially go, oh, I don't have any stories that match. We want you to take a second and have a look at your notes. Be like, good question. Do you mind if I have a look at my notes? Have a look through, scan, think about, okay, the question was about delegating. I didn't prep anything for delegating, but hold on, let me take a sec. I've got a few things here. Oh, that had teamwork in it. Yeah, actually, I think I can make that one work. It's just a little way to kind of scan across all your options of your stories. I think that would be really, really helpful to have in a notebook.
Now, we don't read word for word from it. We're not writing down the entire story in a script look down and read the entire thing. Absolutely not. Banned.
And also, you would panic more trying to work out where the bit was that you needed anyway. Like, when you've got a script or something and you've lost your spot and then you're like...
Then you look up to make eye contact and then you look back down and you're like, wait, where was I?
Panic because you can't remember where you were. Exactly. Yeah. And we're not writing lots and lots of detail so that you need to read.
Bullet points only. And in terms of like, when do you whip it out? You can have it on the table in front of you when you first come in. So come in, sit down, open it up in front of you so that it's there. You don't need to go rummaging.
Or you can have it closed as well. Like you just kind of sit it next to you on the table and it's just there in front of you. You've got a notebook and you can open it when you need it, whatever you like.
And how do you go about kind of giving them the heads up that you're about to check the notebook?
Yeah, I think this is something that people really struggle with. And it's like, I get it, but also the solutions are so simple. just say what you're doing. Think about it from an interviewer's perspective. First of all, they know you're nervous. They know that people lose track of thoughts. They know that people go off track and they need a little prompt. They understand all of that, so that's fine. But keeping all of that in mind, do you think that they would prefer to sit patiently while you think? Or do you think that they would prefer for you to open a page, quickly look at something and then start talking? Like, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with either of those options. I think people feel like, they're not going to like me looking at the notes or they're going to think something about it or whatever. Like, you're doing something about it. They can see that you're making progress. You look prepared. You look like you've got an option. I think it's only positive things of you referencing your notebook. So unless you've received specific instructions that you can't use notes or anything to do with that, obviously that overrules any of our advice, you would just say, I've actually just gone a bit blank. Do you mind if I have a look at my notes? Yeah, no worries. And like you're asking, but you're not really asking. You're kind of like, do you mind, while you're already opening them. Open the notebook, scan down the page, take a little breath, find what you're talking about. You can close it and then start talking, or you can leave it open if you like. But I think if you like consult, close, and then go into your answer, I think that works so well. It's like a really smooth way to go, I'm just having trouble remembering, but I know I prepared something that would work well for this. I'm just going to check my notes for a second. Yeah, no worries. Like, how smooth is that? You sound so natural.
Is there any world in which they would be like, oh no, or like be weird about it?
I think there are some environments where they say you can't bring in notes.
Yes. I went for an interview in the public service once and I had to like leave my phone, my handbag, like they were like no belongings in. So obviously that's different.
But they would be upfront about that to begin with. It's not like they're letting you bring the notebook in and then not allowing you to reference it. In those environments where you're not allowed to have notes, they're going to be very clear about that and say you can't even bring in anything with you in the first place. So it's not going to be a problem that they're going to let you come in with the notebook and then not let you look at it. I can't see that happening. It would be extremely bizarre. And honestly, if that did happen, let's say someone out there will do it because we've got small business owners or just random managers. Like it might not even be from the business. It's just someone's individual opinion that they go a bit rogue and say, no, you can't look at your notes. Well, what does that tell you about them as a person and them to work for and them as a colleague and that as a business? That's what I would say.
Okay, well, because I don't want to say made this tip up, but this is your piece of advice. Has anyone done this in the interviews that you've been conducting?
Yeah, all the time. That's why I don't think this is that groundbreaking. Like, I don't think I'm the first person to suggest or think of bringing in a notebook.
But I think it is groundbreaking. You don't think it is because you see it more often than the regular people. You are interviewing people more than regular people are going for interviews, so it seems confirmation bias. But it does feel illegal. I don't know why, but it just feels like you're cheating.
And then also to clarify, it's specifically a notebook for me. There's something not as good about it being just loose paper. I don't know. It just seems...
Loose paper seems chaotic. It seems like you couldn't find any paper and you randomly grabbed some loose shit out of a folder and it was crumpled up on the floor. Yeah.
Loose paper just gives that kid in school who just always wrote on one bit of paper and just put it loose in their bag. And you're
chaos.
like, how do you know where all your notes are?
Where are those people now? What are they doing?
I think they're struggling. Okay? I think they're not working in jobs that require them to use computers. I think that's where they are. They're probably outdoors breathing in lots of fresh air.
They're landscaping. Yeah, they're probably happier than all of us.
Oh, exactly. Honestly, they just needed the freedom. They needed to be freed from the prison of the pen and paper.
They're a caged bird.
Yeah. And also, I had a conversation once on a different podcast, and she asked me about, what about having notes on your phone? And I was like, yeah, look, you can. I just think
doesn't feel as genuine.
Yeah. And also, again, if we draw the analogy to going into a work meeting and you're like, I just have some notes on my phone, or I'm just going to take notes on my phone, you would find that at the same level of a little bit odd as well. Like you normally use a computer, but again, a computer in an interview, it just feels a little bit strange. It's like, what are you really doing on there? Are you Googling the answers or something? So the notebook just gives the perfect level of prepared but tidy. It ticks all the boxes to have a notebook.
Yeah, wow. And it can also be helpful to actually make a note on the details that they tell you once you've asked the questions. If you've got a pen in there, you could be like, oh, great, staff meetings are twice a week, or whatever the answer is to the question you asked.
Yep. Totally. I've definitely done this in interviews before where you jot down, you've got these questions, you want to make sure you remember the answers. I'm one of those people who is definitely going to forget what the answers were to those questions. I want to be writing them down. Again, translate to being in a meeting. Imagine you're asking all these questions, doing all these things, not taking any notes in an important meeting. That would be strange.
I think also for the people still a bit like me that's I'm hearing you, but it just still feels a little bit illegal. A good reframe is that let's go with the idea that it feels like cheating, like it feels illegal, right? If we're going with that, that gives the sense that an interview is like a test and you're being judged on your ability to memorize. That is not what an interview is. An interview is about getting to accurately and concisely know each other as quickly as possible to see if we're a fit. And so what is a great way to speed that up? The notebook, because that's helping you to not go blank, convey who you are, in turn, let you and the business work out if it's a match. That is directly helping you achieve the goal of an interview. The goal is not to rote learn your best bits and deliver it perfectly.
They're not testing you on your memory at all. It's not a memory test. They don't need to hire someone with a good memory. That is not one of the criteria for the job. And so losing track of what you were saying or wanting to refer to something, or I would even say to people who have trouble staying on track when they're going through, I think you need to adapt this whole strategy to what works for you and what you need most help with. If you go off track, maybe you get the question and you jot something down. You write down on a blank page, okay, they've asked me about teamwork and leadership. Because maybe there's it's a long question, right? You don't want to forget what the question was. Teamwork and leadership, I always forget what the question is. Okay, I've written that down in front of me. Now it's there. And as I go through my answer, I can glance down in front of me and make sure that I'm covering those two topics well. Use it for whatever you need to achieve the outcome of the interview.
If your stories are pretty down pat, you're really across them. Maybe you've had a lot of jobs like Pat and you get a bit muddled up in your career story and it's not very punchy and it's a bit all over the place. Maybe your prompts are 5 words in a row that is the order of the career story to keep you on track so that you can glance down and be like, yep, I summed up how my, job in the band came into it. Then I'm touching on construction and finally why I want to be in environmental work.
Yes, exactly. You can put longer, more detailed bullet points. I would still keep them super high level because you should be practiced to the point where you know the story. Again, you lived the story. This is your life you're talking about. You're not going to forget what happened completely, but the prompts in order to keep you on track. If you're someone who struggles with structure or maybe your situation section of your answers, if you don't know what we're talking about, go and listen to our episodes about behavioural interview questions. If your situation section is normally the part that you struggle with, then make sure you do bullet points. You've got your prompt of what's the story and then bullet points on, I have to mention these things in the situation. Whatever is your kind of tendency with interviews, set up your notebook.
It's customizable.
Totally. Or I just thought of one more thing. Bonus tip. your nerves plan. Write down there, if you're the person that needs to have a plan for what's going to happen if I go blank, what's going to happen if I lose my track, what's going to happen in those situations, write down the thing that helps you in your head. So is it something that you're going to say? Oh, sorry, do you mind repeating the question? You could write that down. Sorry, do you mind repeating the question? Just so that you can look down at it and it's a reminder that you're allowed to do that. You could say, oh, do you mind if I just take a sec to think about that? Or do you mind if we come back to that question? What's your go-to kind of panic strategy? Write that down so that's in front of you so that you're not thinking, how do I say that in that moment? That can be really helpful as well.
Just knowing you have a contingency plan takes the anxiety away.
Imagine your like handy dandy little notebook. You've got like 4 or 5 pages. On the first page is a little outline of your intro. The second page, you've got some best bits, just bullet pointed out. And on the third page, you've got questions to ask at the end. And at the back page, you've got panic phrases that you might be able to use. How good? Set up for success.
If only there was a panic button in the interview. Is that off The Simpsons?
A panic button?
I feel like there's a cartoon about Homer has a panic button, maybe.
Maybe. I'm just thinking of the reverse, like Mr. Burns pressing the panic button that drops the person on the chair into the crocodiles.
The dungeon.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is Mr. Burns.
That he has a button.
It's coming up that he
activates the trapdoor. And my favourite is when he does it and he activates the trapdoor, but like someone's moved the chair. And so it's like the door opens just over there and you're like, oh, what's that? Oh. Like they didn't fall in.
Yeah. Oh, here's a meme with Homer that says, "Oh, which one of the pretty coloured buttons was it again? He's going to kill me." Anyway, side note, Simpsons chat. Take the notebook in. It's not illegal. It's just like how putting on the interior light when your mum's driving is not illegal in the car, even though it feels like it is. Do it. It's our magic hack.
And even though they told us that it was, the police are coming together. Let us know how you go with your notebooks. Thanks so much for listening to Interview Boss. If you like hearing the sound of our voices, follow us on Apple or Spotify and maybe even leave a comment, or better yet, tell someone else about the show. That's how we can hit the charts and help even more people. For more advice, inspiration, and some savable, helpful content, check us out on Instagram and chuck us a follow at Interview Boss. Can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.